Hey everybody, I'm the Rusty Mechanic, and today we're going to take a look at this guy. It's Magic Square MS-04 Munitioner, aka Swindle, from the Combaticons team from the original Transformers G1 cartoon. This is their masterpiece scale version of their Legends version of this character. I'm going to do a full review of this guy from top to bottom. We'll do a quick unboxing, take a full look at the robot mode, go over all the accessories that come in the box, do a detailed transformation for you step by step so you know exactly how to get this guy into the alt mode, do a look at the alt mode as well as the accessories that fit onto the alt mode, and then the big thing we're all interested in, of course, is the combine mode. I'll do a quick review over what the combine mode looks like, but I'll save the full combination once the full set comes out later in another video. Now, before we get into it, I do want to give a quick shout out to Shozi Store. That's where I did pick up this guy. Excellent packaging and shipping as always. If you do want to check this out, I'll leave a link down below in the description as to how you can pick up your copy of this guy. And if you do go shopping on shozistore.com, please don't forget to use my code RUSTY at the top of their website. They've got a support your favorite reviewer field at the very top. You can put my code RUSTY in there. Just helps to support the channel by throwing a few points my way as you do your shopping, no cost to you whatsoever. And as well, I just want to remind everybody that I am giving this guy away probably the day after you're viewing this video. So I have a raffle going on for Kennedy's Village, which is a foundation, nonprofit organization in the fight against sickle cell disease. So not only can you win this figure, but you can also help to support that organization as well in the work that they are doing. If you stick around to the end of the video, I'll give you more details on how you can get into the raffle and probably win this guy. There's also details down below in the description that you can check out on links on how to get into the raffle and purchase entries and everything else. And with all of that stuff out of the way, let's get into it. Start off with a quick look at the box here, very quick. I don't normally like going over the box that much, but there is some very cool artwork going on here for Magic Square, and very significant or recognizable stature here from Swindle, right? That, you know, he's obviously trying to make you a deal here. So that's cool artwork. I do like this very, very much. Just some basic stuff on top. It's the artwork and Magic Square logo and name on the top. Same thing, like not much going on the side, just the name of that. There's a cool silhouette picture on the back of this, which is also similar to the one that was on Heavy Gunner, right, as a tank mode with this silhouette photo in the background. So that's kind of a cool picture, his stats here, and that is pretty much it. Standard packaging that you get with some Masterpiece third-party companies, right? It's plastic bubble packaging. Accessories that we'll go over later on in the video, but we'll just take a look at the packaging here. So you have the leg accessory for the combiner mode does come in the box in the packaging. You have his arm rifle, which again we'll look at as we go over the accessories, and then the main figure itself comes in this spiffy plastic bag, which we will remove. And there you go. So that's everything that comes in the box, right? So the leg accessory, his primary weapon, and then the accessory bag, which has, there's a wheel here inside that actually goes on his back. Again, I'll show that with the accessories. Weapon, a faceplate, an adapter, if you will, for his alt mode to hold all the weapons, card, transformation instructions, and that is everything you get in the box. Take a look at the robot mode. So again, Magic Square is not skimpy on the paint here at all, right? This thing is completely painted from head to toe. And again, I'm having the same difficulty with the hands that I had with Heavy Gunner. These look like they are just flat black molded plastic, that they're not actually painted. But his legs are a high gloss black finish, as you can see from the lighting. And the purple's more like a matte finish, which is kind of a nice touch. It's clear plastic here in the window, a little bit like a frosted effect, I guess, if you will. Like, it's not completely clear and see-through, but it does just sit there on his chest. And the rest of the orangey beige is painted as well, like in his arms and his legs and his chest, right, and in the top part of his upper torso, etc., etc. His waist has these painted headlights from the Jeep mode, which I'm not sure how I feel about that. I think I would have actually preferred that these were some type of translucent plastic instead of just painted on. It is a black circle with a light blue circle inside, right, to make up the headlight. But this part of his robot mode disappears inside the transformation, and you don't actually see it. I think it actually ends up in the bottom part of the alt mode, the vehicle mode, when you do the transformation. So I'm not sure why they went with a painted option instead of something else. Oh, actually, you know what? I'm seeing it now. I know exactly what it is. It's the... I'm going to give away part of the articulation here. It's part of the articulation. Just let me get the leg out of the way here. Let me get the leg out of the way. Anyway. So it's the thing that some of the third-party companies, particular Magic Square, is doing now, is that the front hip skirt is actually part of the articulation of the universal joint. So that as you rotate the leg, it's rotating that front hip skirt with it to hide it away inside the leg. So that, of course, that's... Rusty, come on. Of course, that's why they painted it. You can't have the translucent plastic there. You wouldn't be able to do that anyway. Whatever. Worst review ever, I swear. Anyway, what else can we look at on this guy? We'll just do a side-by-side comparison of the cartoon. So very close to... I mean, the coloring's all there, right? The details of the coloring's all there. You got, like I said, the headlights, that make up his waist, and the grill details that are in the front here. The coloring is completely accurate, right? Beige for the most part of the body, black legs, black hands, the black head with the purple accent around the lower torso or stomach area, whatever you want. Wheel details on the side, right, both in the arms and down here in the legs. Very smooth, clean lines and stuff right over the body, right? There's no giant backpack or anything. There's nothing sticking off here. Very nice side profile, right? It's going to look very good standing on your shelf no matter which way you position this guy. And again, very, very close to the cartoon. So well done by Magic Square, giving us a cartoon accurate masterpiece figure, if you will. I'll go ahead and bring him in super close for his close-up, if you will, for the head sculpt. So black crown head sculpt here, purple eyes that matches the purple through the rest of the figure as well, with a gray face plate, some details in the center of the head, right? Some line work going on there. Some good details. He does come with an alternate face that I'll show, which looks much better. So the alternate face actually has like a smirk face to it, which looks much better than this just plain looking face here. I'll definitely be swapping this out. But overall, that's a very clean, well sculpted, well painted, well detailed masterpiece scale Swindle, sitting on your shelf in your collection, sitting next to Heavy Gunner Brawl there. It's going to look absolutely amazing. I love this guy as soon as I took him out of the box. It's really, really good looking. Let's check out the articulation. So his head is also, again, similar to Heavy Gunner. It's not on a ball joint. It is on basically a universal, right? So it has a pivot at the back with a rotation at the base, but it does allow him to look all the way back like that. It does also let him look forward slightly. And of course, with the base, he is able to rotate 360 degrees. Arms have a lot of articulation. There's actually a sort of a double pivot. There's a pivot within the shoulder itself, but also within the upper chest area. So you can get the arms all the way straight up in the air like that. Excuse me. We do have 360 at the shoulder itself, and then we also have a bicep swivel that does 360 degrees. You do have an elbow bend that you have to watch the arm to make sure it doesn't go up into the upper bicep, but it does go over 90 degrees. We have a wrist rotation. Sorry, there's a wrist tilt as well, but there's also a wrist rotation that does 360 degrees. And then just like his counterpart, we have individually articulated fingers And there is a pin at the primary and a pin at the secondary joint, individually articulated. Oh, I'm wrong. His only his primary finger is individual. The rest of these are all one piece together. Again, double hinged, but it is just one piece. I thought they were individually articulated. I must be thinking of Heavy Gunner. Anyway, the thumb is on a ball joint and does have a secondary hinge here as well. So you get, it is stiff too. So you get a lot of articulation in the thumb as well. And we'll move down to the waist. So we do get a waist rotation, 360 degrees. You'll also get an ab crunch, which you just have to work at a bit. But he can get that far with the ab crunch. If you work at it a bit more as part of the transformation, you can get really crazy with it and break it apart even further, but it does look really, really odd from that angle, obviously, because you get this giant gapping in there. So would not recommend. 0 out of 10. So as I showed a little earlier, you do have to watch, because of the way that they've done the universal joint, right? Before you are pivoting this, you do have to move the side skirts out of the way even a little bit. If you leave them in the down position, if you leave them in the down position and try to move the leg, you'll impact the front skirt that's part of the universal joint into the side hip skirt. So you do need to move these out of the way when you are going to swing the leg, which gives you a super high kick. And then, of course, you can bring the hip skirt back down out of the way so it's not sticking out. Speaking of the side hip skirt, we'll get this leg back into position. It is a soft ratchet that's in there. It's not nearly as hard as the one in Heavy Gunner. But what is the same is that, and you do get out 90 degrees. It is a super hard ratchet in there versus the soft ratchet that's going on with the forward kick. And then if I can get the leg to go back where it's supposed to, there we go. We've also got a hip skirt at the back, which you swing out of the way, and then of course he can kick all the way back 90 degrees. We have a knee bend, which is, so there's a soft ratchet that gets into 90 degrees, but you can continue past this with the hard ratchet in the second half and get almost 180 degrees. You do have to watch his waist. It does like to pop loose. There we go. And the thing to keep in mind is that because of that hard ratchet is that as you're playing with the knee, is that as you'll see now the leg has moved into like a backwards position. So you do have to just work it back into that forward position so that it's in the right spot. We do have a thigh rotation. It'll give you 360. Don't know why you would turn the leg around 360 degrees. And then we have the ankle tilt, which is a full 90 degrees. There is a slight toe tilt forward, and we don't get what do we get? We get the toe tilt in, and we do get the toe tilt out as well. So you can do the toe tilt in either direction. No heel tilt or anything. It does not tilt back, right? So there you go. And that is all the articulation you need in a figure of this size at this scale. Go over the accessories, and one of the things I did forget in the robot review there earlier in the video is the tire. So there is a tire that actually comes in the plastic bag, right, that all the accessories and stuff come in, that has 2 tabs on the back of it. This does actually just pin in on his back here very easily, but obviously this is meant to be on him for his primary mode, right? So there is from the back with the tire on the back. You do have to pop this off during the transformation and stick it onto the back of the Jeep later, but again, we'll go over that during the transformation. I'll take a look at his primary weapon. It's very cool arm rifle. I guess I should have stuck this on for the robot review as well, but forgot. Anyway, little tab right here on the base of it, which just tabs into his right arm. Obviously, you could also plug it into his left arm, but that's not cartoon accurate. So I'll be plugging it in over there. But some very cool looking details here in it, right? There's like a bolt action lever here at the back of the barrel of fin. Some ports here, that's part of combining it with the other accessory I'll show in a minute that goes in the Jeep, so that there's basically weapon storage for this and his other weapon. Line details going along around the barrel, along with some expansion points at the end of the barrel, hollow ends. Here, same thing on the back end, but nicely painted as well. It's like a gunmetal gray, so this is fully painted as well. Again, Magic Square not skimping on the paint anywhere. And it does just very easily tab into his arm like that. And there, now you have a fully cartoon accurate Swindle. I apologize. Worst review ever, I'm telling you. Let's see. He also comes with this rocket as a second weapon. I seem to remember this from the toy, actually. I don't remember this from the cartoon, but that's fine. It's, again, painted the same as the barrel. Does have a fold-down handle so that it can tab into his hand, and same with Heavy Gunner, right? It's a small tab on the handle. But it does peg in very well. Again, it's just a matter of opening up the hand, getting the thumb up out of the way, stick that in his hand, and wrap the fingers around it, and you'll feel it press into place. And it's a solid grip. Right, it's not coming loose at all. So there he is with his rifle, and his weapon. Very, very nicely sculpted accessories. Then there is, like I said, the base. So this does plug into the back of his alt mode, which I'll show obviously when we get there. It can also be used as a handheld weapon as well. It does have another fold-down handle. And then with this peg and this port, you can take his weapons off and peg them in. These are a very tight fit, by the way. So there's that. And then for this, if you fold up the handle, and then the peg that's here at the bottom of the handle then plugs into there. Straighten them out. And so for the alt mode, they will sit like this, but for the handle mode, they actually point. I guess it's dealers. No, I guess it would be this way. Yeah, it wouldn't make any sense if it was the other way. So you can do it like this, and then he has kind of a mega gun that can peg into his hand. So a little bit of an odd configuration. I mean, I'm definitely seeing somebody using this in the alt mode, but using this in his robot mode, I don't think makes any sense and isn't really cartoon accurate. I would rather have this on his arm and this in his hand if I was going to use it, and this would be set aside. So this is the alternate face that I was talking about. So the smirking face, if you will, that looks much, much cooler on this character, obviously, because of Swindle's personality. It is very easy to put on. It is just a tab with a slot in the back of the faceplate that pushes onto the head sculpt. And of course, easiest way to do this is just tilt the head all the way back and then lift up from the chin. As you can see, that was very simple. It popped off. Put the new faceplate on and press into place. And that is Swindle, 100%. So that will be staying on there for sure. We get a bio card, right, with the stats again. Credit card type feel, nice hard plastic with a high glossy finish. Same artwork that we got on the box. Very nice depiction of Swindle in his let's make a deal pose. Silhouette of the vehicle on the back, and of course all of his stats as well. These are neat for looking at like one time, and then after that I never know what I want to do with them. I don't know how to display them. Probably going to go back in the box. What are you going to do? Set of instructions. Again, unfortunately, these instructions are not fantastic. A little better to follow along than Heavy Gunners, but the The detailing and the coloring that they've done in it and how they're drawing the arrows and stuff does make it confusing, in particular around the trying to uncollapse the cab to turn it into the Jeep and everything. Like this area right here, it just doesn't make a lot of sense. Luckily, the transformation is fairly intuitive, so the instructions are not terrible, but again, there could be a little more work done than just a two-sided pamphlet, giving us vague details as to what it is we're supposed to be doing with the figure. And last but not least, the most important, most coolest, most awesome part of the accessories is, of course, the combiner leg mode, which is pretty much exactly the same as the one that came with Heavy Gunner, obviously just in the same color that Swindle is in, right? The orange beige. But this panel does just flip up with the large tabs at their back and continue aligning it, and it will click into place, as you can hear. Same with the other leg. Obviously, we got a double toe tilt thing happening here. Large heavy ratchet in there, and we'll have an ankle tilt with this as well. Same thing, large heavy ratchet going on in there. And of course, his vehicle mode will just plug into here and this tab at the back, which I'll show at the end of the video as I show off his combine mode. All right, we'll go over the transformation. So, like I mentioned before, obviously these accessories have to come off. So his rifle cannon, whatever you want to call it, comes off. The tire comes off the back and will go back on once you get him into his Jeep mode. But it does just get them out of the way. We'll start with the arms. So a little bit different, like similar but different in that you want to rotate the forearm around and then press it up into the upper bicep. Then the bottom part of the forearm actually bends 90 degrees. Fold the hand inside and take the back part of the arm here and press it forward so that it's 90 degrees like that. Rotate this around, press it up, open up this forearm, flip the hand inside. Obviously you need to make sure the fingers are completely closed, and then turn that piece 90 degrees, and we'll get it up out of the way. Take the legs, we can go to the legs and we'll just flip them around 180 degrees. And then you also want to rotate the torso around as well, so you have him looking like this. And then, so the upper torso is a bit of a struggle. There's a lot of exploding and moving parts going on. Legs, similarly, when we get down to them, you'll see there's a lot of paneling that's going on, a lot of exploding out parts as well. But you do want to start with these two panels that are on either side of the head, and there is a clearance issue with them. You do actually need to turn the head to one side and then open the panel at the back of the head. As you can see, there's an interlocking tab that's here that's holding the head into place. And I'm going to have that. There we go. There we go. I thought I was going to need to grab a spudger there. Anyway, and then turn the head the other way and then pop the other panel up. And that just breaks the head free as part of the transformation later on. So here we want to lift up the upper half from the lower, like I showed earlier with the articulation. It's not this part here that you're trying to get out, because that's just for the articulation. It's actually breaking this purple section away from this middle section. You'll see these two tabs here. So you want to pop it away from that. And you don't need to worry about this at all, although it will move around on you as you're doing the transformation. This purple panel that's at the bottom here is locking the front half into the back half, so we'll lift it up 90 degrees like that. This will allow the front half of this to pull forward and separate away, and then it will just start to fall away on you and twist and turn and fall about. Don't worry about any of that stuff. We'll deal with tucking all this away once we get the tires out. So as you can see now, this panel would be up like this when you pull the front part of his upper torso away. So now you can fold this out 90 degrees so you can get at the tires. You want to fold the tires out on the double pivot so that they're 90 degrees like that. Same thing on the other side. And then as you can see, that exposes the front grille of the Jeep, so we can pull that. This is the bumper, so you can pull the bumper out. And then this is where you do need a spudger, because it's hard to get your finger in there. But anyway, just get something in behind it, so you can pull the front grille all the way forward. Bumper panels, turn them both out 90 degrees, and then they slide towards each other and will tab/click together. And then we'll just take this entire panel and get it out of the way. So the head is, you can just fold the head. Make sure the head is facing towards the back of the figure, and then you can fold it down so the face is down against this centerpiece here. There is also a small panel here. You just want to make sure that that gets tucked down inside as well, so you end up with this. So these two panels you had up earlier for the head, those now go down inside the that panel. Now you do have to make sure that this part that's part of the arm is out of the way, so sometimes you do have to rotate the arm all the way up, but you just have to be aware of there's a slight clearance ish that's going on, so some maneuvering around different components. Now the arms, okay, so the arms need to rotate over and down inside here, but there's no clear, clean way to do this. The instructions actually tell you to do one arm, flip this whole thing around, and then do the other arm. I basically found like whatever works for you, just get the arms inside. So you want to pivot it in, and you're just continuing to pivot the arm in on this armature that's here. Rotate the arm over and in. And again, if you see me fumbling with this, it's because, again, there's no clear best way to do this. So you are going to see me struggle with this. Okay, there. Right, so see, like, I had to, like, rotate this whole thing, like, up here while I was rotating it around the head just to get the clearance. Now, the thing with this is that this is not supposed to end up like this. Like, the arm is not fully inside this panel yet. This actually needs to continue to move down inside the center component, the center chest area, until this is flat with the side of the figure. Is it this that I need to pull on? Okay, there we go. So I had to push it over to get it to go flat. Okay. And then you can rotate this part around. Again, there's some clearance issues in getting it to happen, but anyway, there. So that you end up like this. And I would even suggest like only going halfway so that you can get the arm. Oh, guys, it is such a pain in the butt. Like, right? Again, you want to get the arm. Come on, there. It's getting it cleared around the head that's the problem, right? So you want to get it rotated around. And again, you need this part flat. So continue to work the arm. So you get it flat like that, okay? So it ends up upside down to where you started. Because then, once you bring this forward and drop the head into this square, this part will actually, that makes up the front of the, or the top of the Jeep, right, will actually fall into place. But the problem is that there's these two tabs here under the purple part. They have to go into these two slots. So before you actually drop this down into place, you need to bring the front of the Jeep up along with the bumper and then drop this into place. And you'll see, right, as you do it, there. Then you can squeeze the purple, right, the top of the Jeep into the front grille, into those tabs, and squeeze it, and it locks everything into place. Okay. So it ends up looking like that. Okay, so the window is just pull it up and it will slide back and then pivot around and then push it forward. And lock it into place. Then we can do the wheels. So these back fenders are actually pressed against the tires, so you want to bring them back. The tires also rotate forward, so if you press on them, see they'll rotate forward. I'll see if I can show it better from here. So pull this fender out and then the tires rotate out like that. What you're looking for is this port that's here actually goes on this peg. So as you move this tire up, and as you can see there's a slot here and then a tab here. So this tab is going to go into this slot, but the hole in this tire, this port, is going to go on that peg. So you can bring this up, and before you lock it in, just double check that you've got the tire in the right position so that you can press it onto, and it takes a lot of force, my God. There we go. That, and then you can finish off by tabbing that into place. Same thing on this side, so we'll bring it up and line it up with that tab. Double check that the wheel is in the right position. Press it onto the peg and then onto the slot. And watch the bumper. Okay, we'll move down to the legs, and if you thought the upper torso was a pain in the butt, the legs are even more of a pain in the butt. So the first thing that you want to do is, if you notice that the upper leg is all the way forward on the lower leg, so you actually need to work the hard ratchet in the knee so that the leg is all the way forward like this, and that just helps everything to line up in the Jeep mode. Start at the foot, so bring the foot out 90 degrees and then rotate the toe around and flip it in so that it's flat with the foot. This lets you get into this front panel here. It is a tight squeeze. Actually, sorry, there's an interlocking tab here as well. So you need to pop this side panel first, and it's tabbed in here as well. So pop this side panel and you can rotate this rear panel away. It's on a double peg here. It does come up against the back of the leg. So as you can see, there's a tab here that's going to go into the back of the leg. So you can bring that all the way up. Tab it into place. And you can actually fold this panel down so that it's resting there like that. Then you can go ahead and pop this front panel loose. Which if you rotate it up 90 degrees like this, and then turn it sideways, it does get it out of the way of everything else that you're trying to do in here. So this entire panel here that has the foot on it, you can rotate that in, and it does pivot right here at this pin so that it can go up and tab into the inner thigh right there like that. We'll just leave it for now because we do need to get the foot inside the leg and collapse everything. So we're going to go to the center assembly here. Rotate this around 180 degrees. You'll notice that this just flops down out of the way, which is fine because we actually need to slide it up on the pin, and then it locks into place on those two tabs by bringing it out 180 degrees like that. I need to get the rest of this out of the way. So this is obviously the tire, so you want to bring the tire out like this. And then just to save yourself some trouble, hold the top part of the tire with your thumb while you slide this into place. As you see, there's a tab there, so it does tab into the bottom part of the tire, and it does take a significant amount of force to get it in there. Now we can take the foot and rotate it inside that leg panel, and then we'll bring that leg panel up and tab it into place like that. The seat for the Jeep mode is here underneath this panel, so you just want to get in there and bring that seat all the way around to the front like that, and then you can rotate it forward to get it out of the way. This section that we were working with before is actually on a sliding pin, so you want to pull it out and then rotate it 180 degrees so it comes up here to make up the side of the Jeep. This is the rear of the Jeep. It does slide forward so that it can come around to the back and tab into place. There's a little panel here that hooks into the corner, so you want to get your finger in there and pull that part out as well. And then as you rotate this panel into position, it will line up. Take the top rear part of the Jeep and bring it back down so that it locks into position, like so. And then there's a slot here and a tab here. There's also a tab back here for the entire side of the Jeep, so you just want to line those up. Now, the thing with this part of the Jeep, though, is you almost don't want to do this until you have the other side done as well, because it just helps everything to lock into place. But you don't want to bring the leg over yet because it gets in the way of everything that you're trying to do. So try to leave the legs separated as much as possible, even though it's a pain in the butt because of the hard ratchets. That's actually part of the problem with the transformation. But so just leave everything like this, and then you squeeze everything together and it will lock everything in place. So just leave it alone for now. And we'll move over to the other leg and do the exact same thing. So again, making sure that the leg is pivoted forward as far as possible, like that. Rotate the foot out, rotate the toe around, flip the toe down. Oh, I forgot about that panel. Forgot about this panel first. So pop this panel out, rotate this all the way up, get it out of the way. Flip it over and tab it into the back of the leg. Then we can, without rotating the leg completely all over the place, we'll pop this front panel loose. There we go. So we can get this panel to swing away. Flip the toe in, flip the foot assembly inside that panel. Again, trying to keep this 90 degrees just to keep it out of the way, but we can pivot that up like that. Rotate this entire inside assembly around 180 degrees, which will cause this to flop loose. Move it up on the sliding pin, lock it into place so you have the straight panel. Bring the wheel out, hold the wheel, press the tire into place, and give it a good squeeze so that it pops onto the tab. Pull this out on the sliding pin that's there so that it can rotate away. Pull the rear part of the Jeep forward so that you can bend it 90 degrees, and then we can start to put this leg panel in, which hides away the foot. Get the rear part of the Jeep tabbed in there. Get this panel out of the way so we can swing the, hold on, there we go. So we can swing the seat out from behind that panel. Again, if it looks finicky, guys, it is so finicky. It's not a great transformation. It's not terrible. There's been worse transformations, but this one is not overly intuitive and not pleasant. So we'll slide that panel back to make up the rear of the Jeep and the seat, as you can see. And then there's that little panel in there in the corner so that it lines up with the rear of the Jeep. Okay. And then this is where, again, you kind of want to leave all this loose, but we are now bringing the Jeep right back in line with everything. Okay. And then you're going to bring the legs together. So big tab here goes into that hole there. So you want to start to bring the legs together. And again, these hard ratchets on the legs there does not help with that situation. But you want to squeeze those two halves together. I just backed off the transformation a bit because this tab that's in here, it's extremely hard to get it to squeeze together because there's a lot of flexing that's happening at the top, and you actually need the force around the middle. So if you pull the panels off and just let them hang, then you have more like, gee whiz. Okay, so I backed it off slightly again because that tab that's in there is so tight that if you close everything up before you get the two halves of the Jeep squeezed together, see, it's still not 100% squeezed together. You'll never be able to get enough leverage to squeeze the two halves here on that post. So what I've done is I've undone the two side panels and swung them away, and undone the back panels and turned them 90 degrees so you can get your thumb and finger in here. So you basically want to squeeze in here while you're squeezing back here, and just like squeeze as hard as you can, and you'll hear it crunch together. And then you can go ahead and rotate these panels back. Again, the instructions don't show it that way, right? It shows as put everything together and then squeeze it all together, but there's just not enough leverage to do it. So that's my recommendation. Okay, so now we have the back part of the Jeep pressed back into place and the two side panels. So you want to bring the front of the Jeep up like this. And then there's two interlocking tabs here that go into the two slots here on both sides, as well as the tab that's here and here that goes into this rear panel. And you just want to line it all up on one side there, and then squeeze everything together, and that locks the front of the Jeep into the rear. Do the same thing on the other side, and then squeeze it all together. So, sorry, there was another small tab that's right here that was interfering with me being able to squeeze these two halves together. So because there's so much rotation going on in the torso, as well as the pivot for the ab crunch, a lot of times you've got to, twist it, the front and the back, to get everything to line up. So just make sure that as you're interlocking these, putting these tabs in, and then these two smaller tabs that are right inside here, that they're all lined up as you're squeezing it together. Otherwise it will fight you. But there it is. Oh, also, so the tire then goes onto the rear of these two tabs here in the rear panel of the Jeep, and that also helps, oddly enough, to actually squeeze everything together. Just need to, there, get the tabs lined up so that you got it like that. And there it is in alt mode. All right, so let's take a look at the alt mode. A decent looking alt mode. It's not fantastic. It has its issues, but there is a lot of, there's not a whole bunch of line paneling going on, which is one of the benefits of it. It's lots of smooth paneling, even the hood. Nice and smooth. There is this line panel here, but you could almost say that this is the hood itself, and this is actually the front of the Jeep. Speaking of the front of the Jeep, we've got the I don't think the bumper and the winch here are painted either. I think this is just molded plastic, but there is a winch, right? There is a bumper. It looks like a bumper. It's got some actual line details in it that make it look like a bumper. Grill details in the front with clear plastic for the headlights. Plastic wheels. They do have Jeep-like tread details going on, and the rims do have, rivets and stuff. It's painted silver. It rolls very nicely on the wheels, right? No issues there at all. There's no details in the Jeep itself. Oh, you know what I forgot? Oh my God, the steering wheel is right there. I forgot to flip up the steering wheel. Damn it. So the steering wheel is supposed to be flipped up to here. Actually, I could probably take care of it. Hold on. Let's just pop this. Pop this. Yeah, there we go. All right. Oops. So, yeah, the steering wheel just flips up. Just like that. And then there. Jesus. Okay, so now that I've got the steering wheel, so there's no details inside the Jeep itself, but it does have the steering wheel there. A little bit of ingenious design that the the back of the seats are actually under these panels, right, that make up his legs. But his upper thighs are the bottom of the seats, right? So the back of the seats just fold over to rest on top of the back of his legs, which make up the seats. So that's a little ingenious. So there's some neat tricks going on here. Rear profile. So unfortunately, like some of the profiles in this mode, they don't look great. If you look at it from the front, like that's a nice looking Jeep profile, if you will. Unfortunately, the rest of it, like, so from the top, it's clean. So there's things exposed here that you can tell what they were from the robot mode. There's gapping that's going on here, right? If you don't get this squeezed together properly, then you can see tabs and stuff. But there's gapping going on here. It's very difficult to get these two halves squeezed together, so you get gapping down the middle. You can see right through past the seats, past the bottom of the Jeep. So there's a lot of gapping that's going on from the top view. The rear view is not much better. There's all this stuff going on from the back, right? So you have the tire, and as long as your eye is drawn to the tire, then you really don't see any of this stuff, and you're kind of okay. But it doesn't take long for you to notice that, oh, there's all this stuff going on here on the back profile. And then the side profile, which if you were going to display this in your shelf in alt mode for any reason, it just gets worse. Because, like, look at all this. Right, there's all this paneling that is left exposed underneath the bottom of the Jeep, and I think the camera can catch it, right? There's not a lot of clearance going on. I feel like they could have maybe they could have put another panel in here to fold down to hide this up a bit better, but then maybe it wouldn't have looked like a Jeep as much. I don't know, but this, and there's all this paneling and pins and everything that you can see with the tire pushed all the way forward. It's just, it's okay, right? It serves its purpose as being a Jeep. But if you were going to display this in alt mode, it's not a great alt mode. I'm sure there are better alt modes out there, or there are better alt modes to come. It's fine, but it's not impressive, unfortunately. Let's just take a look at the accessories again. And I'm going to tell you right now that because I'm a little bit frustrated with the transformation, I'm actually not going to do... If we put all this back together... So we put the shoulder rifle on this, and then folding up the weapon handle to expose the peg and put that into there, and fold the handle down on this. So these two slot looking areas, well, they go in underneath these panels. So you would have to lift up these panels and split apart the legs to get it to sit basically there like that. I feel like I'm not doing a proper job, right, if I don't actually show this to you guys, but I'm going to tell you right now, I'm not going to be happy about it. Okay, so you do have to get the two halves open so that you can fit this into underneath so it just fits underneath these two top panels, but in order to get in there, you have to split the legs apart to get it to slide into place, right? And then you're just squeezing the two halves together, right? And again, you're going to have an issue with getting it squeezed together because that peg that's there is a giant pain in the butt. Yeah, it's pretty good. And then you have to, put all this back together. Guys, the stuff that we go through. Anyway, there. So now you have your weapons. Right, so you can pivot them up. Right, obviously, like, okay, this one keeps rotating in. Anyway, so you can pivot them up in the air. And this does also rotate as well, right? So you can actually rotate the weapons around as well. Anyway, there you go. So that is what it looks like with the weapons on. And I mean, that does help as well to take away from a lot of things I'm talking about, at least from the top profile, right? It takes your eye away from the gapping that's going on here along the sides, or the fact that you can see right down through the middle of the alt mode, and does give something to it in this. But again, this side profile is still horrific. All right, and then as you can imagine, for the alt mode, you have to obviously remove all the accessories, which means you have to break it apart at the back, which is the biggest pain in the ass on this. Luckily, if we bring in the leg, luckily what we'll find is that you have to break the rear part away anyway, because you squeeze it together on these two tabs to get it to clamp down on the bottom part of the foot, while the top part of the Jeep just tabs into that tab up there. So we had to break the bottom half of this apart anyway, and of course that starts with taking the the rear tire off the back of the Jeep. Then we can, let's untab up here at the front just to give us some slack. And I'm telling you guys, like, this peg is ridiculously tight. There, like two-fisted. Okay, so once you get it split apart, then obviously we're taking the weapons away. So you do need to separate these two front halves from those tabs anyway, because we need to fold, at least the instructions say you need to fold the steering wheel away. But then as you'll notice now, there's two tabs here in the center in front of the seats, and the wheel, the rear wheel, now goes here, like that. Then we can bring this back into place, and we'll tab the doors into the front. All right, there. So we get that squeezed in together, and then separating the two bottom halves here, it looks like this part here goes right into this area right here. You do want to put the windshield flat as well once you've got the wheel in place, and the front bumper does just flip all the way forward like this. Right, so again, these two tabs go into the slot there. It's very difficult to see how to line up the tabs in here, so it is a struggle. You cannot let this fall forward, or back, sorry, while you are trying to get his alt mode onto the bottom of the foot, because you can't bring this forward then. So you had to make sure this is in some type of an upward position as you're trying to line this up. Okay, that went on easier than the first time I was doing it. I couldn't get the tabs lined up. So there. And then, so again, we're just bringing this. Oh, it's okay. So sorry, the winch and the bumper actually clear the top and the back of the leg. So this tab is actually tabbing into. This tab is actually tabbing in right there. Just like that. Okay, there we go. All right, so there it is in combined mode. And again, like I showed earlier, right? So we end up with a ratcheted, hard ratcheted toe tilt, and it stands up under its own weight, which is very, very cool. Oh my God, guys, it's so stiff, right? And then we also have the ankle tilt as well, right? Which obviously won't stand up under its own weight, but it almost goes 90 degrees. So theoretically, the combined mode will be able to do the splits. We'll have to wait and see. Very cool looking though, right? Nicely painted, nicely sculpted, right? Lots of details here in the back of the leg with all these vented panels, as it were. Completely painted toe and back of the leg part. Anyway, I think it's gonna look very, very cool. It's gonna be a cool looking Bruticus once we get all these pieces together. I am interested to see what it is going to look like once the set is complete. Overall, this is a really nice looking figure for the robot mode, an excellent representation of Swindle, very clean lines, nicely painted from top to bottom, really nice head sculpt. I really, really like that alt face as well that's got the smirk face. It really speaks to the Swindle character from the cartoon as that wheeler and dealer, right, that swindler, if you will. Nice set of accessories that come with it, not too much. The transformation, though, is a little convoluted and frustrating. It's a lot of moving parts with a lot of pieces that can flop around on you while you're trying to manipulate them. Trying to get that upper torso flipped around and the arms tucked in is just a little more than like a little more complicated than I want it to be. Same thing with the legs. There's a whole bunch of paneling going on down there, almost like it's been over-engineered. It's not terrible. It can be frustrating, but you can get through it if you just take time and work the patience to get everything lined up and fit it into place and everything else. Once you do get it into the alt mode, again, it's a decent looking alt mode. It's not perfect by any means. There is some gapping going on down through the middle of it. You can see the panels that make up the legs that are tucked up underneath when you're looking at the side profile. But overall, again, nicely colored, good representation of that type of vehicle mode, a Jeep, if you will. So it's not terrible by any means, but it could have been done a little bit better. I'm not sure that it matters anyway. I don't think any of us are displaying this particular figure in that mode. I believe we're either going to be putting him in robot mode or his combined mode, which, by the way, the combined mode does look excellent, just like his counterpart Heavy Gunner. Again, the only caveat to that is that at certain angles you can see that side paneling going on underneath the Jeep mode, but really you've got to have that leg turned at such an angle that it would detract you from just seeing the overall beauty of that figure in either its robot mode or its combined mode. Anyway, that's it, everybody. Thanks very much for hanging out with me. As I mentioned earlier, I am giving this figure away this weekend. So again, if you're watching this video right now, I'm probably doing the live draw tomorrow. You can check out the details for that on my YouTube channel. The details for getting into the raffle are down below in the description. But essentially what we're doing is it's $1 per entry, and you can get your entry by going to buymeacoffee.com/rustymechanic, and you can enter as many times as you want. For every dollar that you spend, it'll get you one entry into the draw. We're already well over the 100 entries that I was looking for, and at the time of the recording of this video, I had 135 entries. So if it remains around that number, I'll be giving away either Heavy Gunner or Munitioner to the winner of the raffle this weekend. If by the weekend I get over 200 entries, I will give away both figures to the winner. So go ahead and jump into it if you're interested in winning either one of these figures. And that's it. Again, thanks for hanging out with me. I am the Rusty Mechanic. We'll see you next time.